real heavy rain moving into the mountains and foothills. That pushes through late tomorrow into Wednesday, and then another surge of moisture comes in Wednesday into Thursday. So there's two distinct waves of rain, one tomorrow into Wednesday, which kind of lays the groundwork, unfortunately, I think, for the heavier rain that's coming in, because usually this is the way it works. You saturate everything with the first wave, and the next wave comes in. So if we're going to see real issues with flooding, I think it's going to be Wednesday night into Thursday. And you can see some of that rain, particularly because some of it could be thunderstorms that could produce some downpours. That moves through, and then in the weekend, we're likely going to see another wave of rain come in on Sunday. So we got to keep an eye on that potential as this next storm. So this is going into Sunday. So you've got three systems this week, one tomorrow, one Wednesday, Thursday, and a third one coming up this weekend. So let's talk about the winter weather prospects, because there is ice. This is the blend of models just to show you the ice potential here. And again, I'm going to stop this. We'll go into Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So again, a couple things to note here. There's not going to be any ice here. This is just some bogus stuff. But you notice the area right in here. This is the spot. That's the spot from Boone up to Ashe County, up towards Jefferson, up to a quarter inch. It's going to be borderline power line issues. As you get towards Wilkes County, Allegheny County, Surrey County, nuisance amount, maybe just on some elevated bridges, maybe some railings, treetops. The roads probably for the most part should be fine because the ground is so warm from the recent warm up that we're just expecting this to be on trees and stuff. So not expecting a huge deal with the ice. But if you are traveling north, especially Southwest Virginia, this is where there's going to be problems. So up in this area, yeah, this is a combination of a little bit of snow, some sleet, and then a whole bunch of ice on top of it. Could be really problematic up there. The rain obviously is a bigger story. Look at the rainfall totals. This is a 7-day rainfall forecast. So this goes all the way through next Monday. Look at some of these totals in the southwestern part of the state. You're talking, 7, 8, 10 inches of rain. In fact, the highest total on this map in the mountains somewhere is 11 inches of rain. Now, that's an area southwest that wasn't as heavily impacted by Helene. So, not as, still a concern, but not as many low water areas as we do to the northern mountains. I'm going to stop this right about here, and I'm going to show you the areas I'm concerned about. So this is Asheville, where there's 5 inches. These are areas that were really impacted by Helene right there. So those areas in particular, I'm talking McDowell County, Rutherford County, Polk County, Mitchell, Yancey, and then up towards Avery and Upper Burke County. So these are areas we're going to watch. And again, hopefully this will be spread out over several days. But as I mentioned, the first wave could raise the water levels. And then as we get that next surge of moisture, cause some real issues. And you heard me talk about this last week. When we get heavy rain in the wintertime, because there's no vegetation, there's no leaves on the trees, runoff of rainfall is much, much more exaggerated than in any other time of the year. So we tend to see runoff be a real problem this time of year, because especially when the ground gets saturated, grasses, bushes, trees, all that stuff aren't using the moisture from the soil, so it just sits there. And so then when it does rain, it runs off fairly quickly. So I would not be shocked to see flood watches issued at some point this week, but just be prepared. If you're in the mountains, you're going to get cold, rain, and ice here the next couple of days, with flooding increasingly becoming a problem as we get towards the middle of the week. Of course, I will post updates throughout the week. Flooding is our biggest concern, but we want you to stay weather aware in the mountains and foothills for the flooding and the little bit of ice we're expecting coming up tonight into tomorrow.
Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense, Sunday's game marks the 59th Super Bowl, with the Chiefs and Eagles facing off there in New Orleans.
The Super Bowl is more than just a football game. It's a cultural phenomenon. Let's connect the dots. The big game first began back in 1967 as a championship matchup between the NFL and rival AFL. But it wasn't always the massive event it is today. The first Super Bowl didn't even sell out. But that changed as the media hype grew, fueled by historic moments like Joe Namath's Super Bowl III upset. By the 1980s, the game wasn't just about football. Apple's iconic 1984 ad kicked off the Super Bowl commercial craze. Throughout history, it's been hosted at 26 different stadiums in 17 major cities. And with Sunday's game, New Orleans will tie Miami's record for hosting the most Super Bowls at 11. Today, it's the most watched TV event in America, drawing more than 100 million viewers every single year. And that is connecting the dots.
game time this morning. CMS making it clear student safety comes first regardless of their immigration status.
The district reassuring families and laying out protections for students. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane now live this morning with how officials are responding to concerns and what it means for families. Richard.
Yeah, good morning, Ben. Good morning, Kaylin. Good Tuesday morning all. Yesterday at its regular board meeting, the CMS school board said that they wanted to assure parents so far there have been no program again this year to host their annual reunion event during Throwback Weekend. So looking forward to having a lot of NASCAR alumni here. Certainly with the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the Cup Series back on track will be the highlight of the weekend. And then we'll tie in elements that connect that past and present with our throwback parade from downtown Darlington as part of our weekend festivities. So that's got me excited. A little bit earlier on the schedule this year, so maybe the temperatures be slightly a little different, a little cooler as we enter that early part of spring. Get to be part of some of those early season storylines as well that are going to develop as we come out of Daytona. Head to Atlanta and then head out west a little bit. So I'm excited about that. And then as we look further ahead to the Cookout Southern 500 on Labor Day weekend, back with the tradition of that race, starting the playoffs again for the Cup Series, but also for the first time with the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series will be the playoff opener for both series on that weekend. So know that one's going to be some thrilling competition on the track as we head off into the playoffs.
Fantastic. We're going to open the floor up for questions. If you have a question, go ahead to your reactions, raise your hand, and we'll give you the floor. We're going to start with our friend Jordan Bianchi. Jordan, go ahead.
Hey, Josh, I appreciate the time today. A few questions from me. I wanted to talk to you kind of about that date shift, and I was wondering, it seems like you guys had really kind of made that May date your own, if you will. Was that something that you went to NASCAR about, or is that something that NASCAR came to you about and said, this is what we're thinking and this is what we want to do?
Yeah, putting together the schedule is a collaborative effort, between us, what we would like to see at the racetrack and then what Ben Kennedy and the team there work on. So as we've had dialogue since 2021 with the spring race weekend coming back here to Darlington and being on Mother's Day, it's been a great platform for us to build Mother's Day weekend and Throwback Weekend together. But as you look back in the history of Darlington from the spring race, that date has fluctuated at times over the years, anywhere from late March through Mother's Day. So we're comfortable with where it landed. I know we've heard from some of our fans over the last 4 years that maybe couldn't come out on Mother's Day because they needed to spend that time with them. So we're excited to give those fans an opportunity to be here at the racetrack off of Mother's Day weekend and, like I said, be part of a little bit of some of those early season storylines that develop in the early part of the year.
Very good. And kind of in the same vein, if you will, we've seen over the last few years more races in your region, if you will. The return to North Wilkesboro. We were up at Bowman Gray a few weeks ago. Obviously, the Rockingham is coming back. What is the impact on you guys? And is there any concern about, for lack of a better term, oversaturation and kind of that market where, you guys aren't that far apart from each other?
Yeah, Jordan, I think that when you look at the fan sentiment, we've heard a lot from fans that want to see some of these tracks that are part of the NASCAR history come back. And we're seeing that. You've seen it with North Wilkesboro the last couple of years. Now we see it with Rockingham coming back, and a couple of weeks after our event with the NASCAR Xfinity Series, the Craftsman Truck Series, and the ARCA Series, and then certainly, with Bowman Gray opening. So I think the schedule right now has a great mix of going to new markets, but also paying tribute and paying homage to our history. I think it's a little too early to tell, if we'll see any impact to our ticket sales. Certainly the early results are that our fans are still excited about coming here to Darlington Raceway for Throwback Weekend. And I think while we enjoyed our spot kind of closing out the regular season last year as part of the Cup Series, I'm really excited about the fact that we get to be the playoff opener again for the Cup Series and serve in that role for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series too. So I think it gives our fans what they want, what they've been asking for in this region, to see more of these tracks come back online. And now we just ask them to get out and support us, come out to the racetrack. Tickets are affordable. You can spend a weekend out here with us. There's great opportunities for kids, for military, for our first responders. So all these fans that want to see these tracks come back, we're glad to see them. And now we look forward to hosting you here at Darlington, as well as some of the other tracks in our area.
Very good. Thank you, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question will come from Chris Parks. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, good afternoon, Josh. Good to see you again here. Excited for the start of the NASCAR season. Couple questions I have. Can you discuss a little bit about 75 years here in Darlington? Are there any track upgrades, things happening to get ready for the April race ahead here?
Chris, I don't think you see anything significant. We are always looking at, post-event, at the end of the year, kind of things that we can do to enhance the facility. No major upgrades to speak of at the moment, but we're always having ongoing conversations about what we can do to make the track and the facility top-notch for our fans as we think about 75 years and what we get to take care of on a daily basis here. There's a great balance of improvements that have been made over the years with that rich history. So we have made some smaller, changes, some work in some of our restrooms around property that our fans will see, and we'll continue to work on, integrating different experiential elements into the race weekend as we get ready for April 5th and 6th.
You're not muted now, dear.
Do we have any additional questions for Josh? Well, Josh, thanks for taking the time to join us, and we look forward to seeing you again shortly at the track Too Tough to Tame.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everyone.
And for those on the line, we'll be joined here at the bottom of the
Meantime, this morning, CMS making it clear student safety comes first, regardless of their immigration status.
The district reassuring families and laying out protections for students. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane now live this morning with how officials are responding to concerns and what it means for families. Richard.
Yeah, good morning, Ben. Good morning, Kaylin. Good Tuesday morning all. Yesterday at its regular board meeting, the CMS school board said that they wanted to assure parents so far there have been no raids from ICE officials on any of its campuses. They also say that they're doing everything they can to ensure students' protections while in class. Now, as we take a look at video, this is all because of recent amendments or statements made or bills signed by the president. CMS officials say all students will continue to receive education regardless of their immigration status. This is President Donald Trump's new policy, takes away the sanctuary status that keeps ICE agents from arresting people in the country illegally when they're at a church, school, or in the hospital. In a statement, the district reinforced key protections such as the prohibition of school staff from inquiring about immigration status during a student being enrolled and reporting undocumented students to authorities. It also highlighted that immigration officials cannot enter schools without a court order or sufficient warrant. The district says it will continue to monitor any federal changes that could affect these protections, while advocates say there is growing fear for parents and caregivers alike.
Fear is a good word for it. I would say confusion is another one. They want clarity. They want guidance on what to do just because they hear they can go into the schools, they can go to court, they can go to these areas.
And the district says it will continue to monitor any federal changes, but as of now, they reiterate the fact that there have been no raids on any of its campuses. We're in East Charlotte. This is Richard Devane. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Richard, thanks so much.
Tonight, some say a flaw in the North Carolina justice system could turn deadly. Just last month, a Charlotte man was found guilty of assaulting a woman and strangling her. He was sentenced to 18 months probation. Now advocates are pushing for harsher penalties for strangulation charges. WCNC Charlotte's Julia Kaufman is joining us live from outside the county courthouse to talk about this. So, Julia, you spoke with the district attorney. What is he saying?
Well, he says, Vanessa, that strangulation is a dangerous, life-threatening crime, and it needs to be treated as such to better protect victims of domestic violence.
It can be a telltale sign that a victim's life is at risk.
About once a quarter, we do a deep dive into a domestic violence related homicide. And in about half of those cases, we do find that there was strangulation at some point.
Elise Hamilton Childress with the county's Prevention and Intervention Services says strangulation is a form of abuse that is detrimental.
Even if it doesn't result in them being killed, it can result in irreparable bodily harm and psychological harm to the person.
But Mecklenburg County District Attorney Spencer Merriweather says the consequences in North Carolina aren't as serious as you'd think.
The problem is that the penalty for taking somebody's air away is the same as someone breaking into your outdoor shed.
That's because assault by strangulation is only a Class H felony.
That a person can try to do things that ultimately could kill you, but fall short of it, and that person could serve a period of probation.
Merriweather would like the General Assembly to increase the punishments.
When there is a demonstration of physical injury, I see no reason we don't treat this like it's a shooting.
Hamilton Childress agrees, saying it's important for domestic violence survivors to feel supported by the justice system.
When a victim does not get the outcome that they hope for, that says to them, we value